Hello, everybody, and welcome back to this episode of Broken Boys. This is episode 165. I'm Mike,
And I'm Colin.
and today we're going to be talking about the album discography of Radiohead. May have heard of them. If you're a visual listener watching us right now, you can even see Anthony Fantano getting some Radiohead in Colin's profile picture.
Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah. So that's a treat for our visual listeners. and so come on over there. But we're gonna talk about that. I definitely have a couple words that I wrote down for them. Yeah, no, it's a little crazy. But before we do that, how was your week, Colin? What you been up to, buddy?
I'm all right. Week was okay. Work, school, just hanging out, getting ready for the school year to end. Excited.
How are the grades?
They're all right.
That's good. Nothing too worrisome.
No.
That's
Nothing
good.
too bad. But yeah. What did I do this week? Other than my schedule, my work schedule is kind of packed for some reason. I've been working quite a bit the last couple of weeks, and it's not changing next week. So, just been at work a lot. Listened to a lot of Radiohead this week.
Yeah.
I played some Fortnite, both with Max and with my siblings.
Oh shit, Max is a Fortnite gamer.
Yeah, I'm good. She started getting into it like last week.
You got a good one.
Yeah, I know, man. If only I could get my boyfriend to play it.
Yeah. Which one?
One I'm talking to right now.
Oh, whew. I mean, keep calling me that. Maybe you will.
Right. But Billie Eilish is in Fortnite now. She got a couple new songs on there. She got Happier Than Ever, but it's the edit version, so it's only the second half of the song, unfortunately.
That is a weird song to be in Fortnite, especially from her discography.
Yeah. They added like Oxytocin and You Should See Me in a Crown and All the Good Girls Go to Hell.
Yeah. Is it in the Fortnite festival stuff?
Yeah.
Okay, I forgot that was a thing for a second. I thought you just meant like it was like, I don't know, in the game or something.
No, they got a couple emotes that You Should See Me in a Crown and Bad Guy, but yeah, Fortnite Festival. She's the artist this season. It's been fun. Have not watched any more Fallout, but I do want to. Yeah, I mean nothing too crazy. Work was super busy today. Lots and lots of people. Super rainy at the beginning of the day. Yeah. And I was like, oh, maybe it won't be too bad. But it was nonstop for a couple hours. And we'd have little respites, and then we'd have nonstop for an hour or two the entire time I was there. So good times.
Of course. Nothing like a little bit of rain ambiance at a McDonald's, am I right?
Oh yeah. It doesn't make me want
to
jump. Oh,
I'm sure the Radiohead helped with that too. Yeah.
Oh
definitely.
Yeah. Nothing. My managers, this one manager, sorry, in specific, has been very childish. I don't know. I don't remember if I talked about um her a couple weeks ago when it first happened, but
I think you
when,
did mention it a little bit. Yeah.
where she took one of the other managers' phones.
Yes. Yeah, you did mention
Yeah.
that.
This week she got a message on the work like schedule app um from one of my coworkers. Um and he asked her to go if she wanted to go on a date sometime.
Mm.
Um which, like, you know, crazy place to ask that first
Yeah.
off, but like
Yeah.
it's not that big a deal, but she sure as hell made it a big deal and like would not stop talking about it. Um and then, you know, she's not a very good manager, but somehow she managed to come back. Um so that's been fun.
Mm.
Um but I don't know. I otherwise I re what's the word? I re
Re.
uh
Re. Sorry.
I I took the stuff down from my desk and I put it back up in a different
Reorganized.
reorganized. That's the
There you go.
It's been a long day. It's been a long day.
We love those brain farts and obvious words.
I reorganized my desk.
Mm.
Looks better now, I think. Um, but yeah, I mean, nothing too extraordinary this week. Over being sick, so that's nice.
Nice.
Toy on pilots. We'll talk about that.
Yes. Yes, you will.
Um, but yeah, how was your week, man?
Well, you bestowed your sickness onto me
Oh,
through the pod. So,
uh-uh.
um, yeah, I guess you should have been wearing a mask last episode or something. But no, my dad got sick from somewhere, and I think he was sick like throughout this week and last week a little bit. But yesterday I woke up and started getting that feeling in my throat. I'm like, oh, okay, well, um, so I'm okay right now. We'll see what happens the next few days, but
Mhm.
yeah, that's probably gonna gonna suck a little bit, but whatever. Um,
Hopefully,
but
it's nothing too bad.
yeah, yeah, my dad's was just like some head congestion or something. Nothing really like coughing and all that, but I don't know.
That's good.
We will see. We will see. But my week, yeah, I didn't really do anything again, but I did listen to a lot of music, Radiohead, but also a lot of other stuff as well. I was very musically active this week, which means I'm probably going to be very burnt out in like either next week or the week after. but um, um, I've been generally in a pretty good mood though, which is also good because that hasn't been a thing. But I haven't really done much this week. I was playing some Power Wash Simulator,
Yeah.
playing more of my Minecraft single player world, which I'm a little too into at the moment. But it's really fun, man. I'm having a lot of ideas. I'm traveling places, having fun traveling. It's great.
Oh,
Um, I haven't had this much fun playing Minecraft like probably since the game came out. So like it's honestly really
wow.
nice.
Wow. Okay. I see.
What?
All
Okay.
right.
Well, when we're in a, I should say by myself. By myself, I haven't that much fun. Um, but yeah, yeah, it's pretty fun. But yeah, I haven't really been doing much besides listen to a lot of music, uh, playing GeoGuessr and all that kind of stuff. But working on the mental health and is doing a little bit better. So
Yeah.
that's always a good thing. Um, yeah, let me double check my notes. But I'm pretty sure I really just didn't really do like anything notable this week, which sounds sad, but like I said, I'm in a good mood. So
Well, okay.
you know what?
What did you listen to?
Oh, I don't know why I always forget to bring that up during this part. Like I wait till you say something. I'm like, oh yeah, I also listen to.
Well, I don't really say that because you say you listen to a lot. So
Oh, okay. Yeah, but I know I always forget to like mention it during my week for some reason. I listen to well, I listen to all the Radiohead stuff. And then like I revisited a lot of stuff throughout the week, like some that Lizzie McAlpine album along with her first album, and then I think the Plastic Beach I did again this week. Did a few others that I can't remember off the top of my head, but and then like today there were three things that came out, actually four things that came out that I listened to. One of them being the deluxe version of Laufey's Bewitched album, with
Right.
3 new tracks plus Goddess, which was really good. I liked that a lot. And then Maruja, which is a post-rock band from the UK. I believe I had their song Thunder as my song of the year last year. I'm pretty sure that was
Yep.
number one for me. They came out with another EP and called Conla's Well, which was also very good. It's a little bit more of the same, but it's really good shit in the first place, so it's okay. And then the Saint Vincent album came out yesterday as well, called All Born Screamin'. I gave that one listen. It has some really good stuff in there, but there's a few that I definitely am going to need a couple more listens for it. But that's also pretty good. And then, I mean, there's a few things we had good timing on with the Radiohead that I'll get into with Radiohead stuff. But Tom York released a soundtrack, which is the first solo work he has released in 4 years, which he started teasing this week. But I just listened to that soundtrack right before coming in here, and it was pretty good. I mean, it was a soundtrack. It gets a little weird at points, but it's got some cool like woodwinds and strings and stuff in there.
What's this track for?
For a film of some sort. I don't know how professional of. I'm guessing it's like an indie film of some sort. I don't know. I haven't heard it. It's called Confidenza. I forgot to say that. But yeah, he did like one for like he did a soundtrack for the Suspiria remake a few years ago as well. I don't know. I've heard about that other places. I don't know. But yeah, that's pretty much. I think that's all like the big things I listened to. But yeah. I guess we can kind of get into some music news. I have a lot of music news here. We do have in the alternative rock world, we have some good news and some bad news. As Colin alluded to earlier, we got a new 21 Pilots single called Backslide.
Backshot.
Called Backshots, yeah. Called Backslide. We'll get into that first in a second, but I think it's also important to bring up the bad news. And Colin, I know you in particular were pretty upset about this one. But unfortunately, we have to report that a new Imagine Dragons album is coming out in June called Loom. Yeah. That's the bad news.
Also, bad news that they didn't want to do July 20th either.
Yeah, oh, dude, that would have been great. I think it's June when it's coming out, but no, but well, yes, that is an actual thing that's happening. But also 21 Pilots delayed their album Clancy by a week, which means it is no longer on Colin's birthday. Also not on Blurryface's birthday anymore. So
I know, it's unfortunate.
Yeah, they Tyler said the reason was because he was getting a little too ambitious with the a music video for every song thing, and he doesn't think it'll be done in time. I personally think it's also a little bit of the Billie Eilish coming out the same day, and they're just not admitting to it, which is fine. But
yeah, I had the same thought. I was telling Max because like I woke up that day and I saw Tyler posted and I was like, "Oh, what's this?" And then I was like, "Oh man." Mm-hmm. Max woke up and I was like, Tyler Joseph just ruined my morning. I was like, yeah, I think it's also because of the Billie Eilish thing. They don't want to be overshadowed by yet another pop artist.
Yep. First Lady Gaga, then O-Rod, and then Billie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now they're overshadowing Wallows that day, so.
Oh no. I thought their last album was okay. I listened to it. It was fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that will make that episode slightly less hectic for the pod, because
Hmm.
there definitely was potential for that to be a very long episode. And also
Yeah.
a lot of prep time for that episode.
Fair.
But now we can separately talk about the Billy and the 21 Pilots, which I think is kind of a good thing for us as well.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
but
Not that the Clancy episode is going to be short, but
no, but it might be slightly shorter now that we don't have to talk about Billy in it as well. um,
you go down from 3.5 to 3. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
You
But
can watch Oppenheimer, or you can listen to the Clancy
from
review episode, Broken Boys.
yeah, that's the real Barbenheimer right there. It's the broken Heimer.
Yeah.
But but yeah, like I said, also in good news, new 21 Pilot single.
Yeah.
It was announced this week that it was coming out, and they're like music video by Josh Dunn coming out in like 2 or 3 days or something.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, well, what are your thoughts on it? Backslide.
My first listen, I was like, okay. I wasn't like super into it. I didn't immediately like it or love it as much as I did next semester overcompensate. Um, I thought it was very. All three of these singles have been very, very different from each other and pretty
Yeah,
different, or just for them in general.
and they come right after
But
one another on the album.
yeah, I know. But after a couple more listens, I was really starting to hit and connect, and I was reading the lyrics more, and I was like, oh, oh, and like,
Yeah,
and like reading the theories and reading what people thought it meant, and just like looking deeper into like the music video and just seeing how much of a loop it is, and like and everything. It's just like, and it this album is going to, I fear, destroy me.
yeah,
Because it is very, every song has been sad. Well, not sad, not every song. Overcompensate wasn't sad, but like it's been, the last couple songs have been very personal and sad and deep.
yeah,
So I'm very excited to see where this album goes. Very nervous to see how it affects me.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, just to add on to that last part that you have right there, I'll give my thoughts in a second, but there was also like a fake review that was going around or
Uh,
something that Tyler responded to like, yeah, well, it was like they like the review had the entire album, quote unquote, on there, but Tyler was like, yeah, no, that's fake. There's a few things they got right, but there's something I put in Paladin Straight that they would have like mentioned, and that's the 6.5 minute song, and that,
yeah,
bro, I really shouldn't get hyped for that song. I really shouldn't, but I am very intrigued to what that is going to be. um,
yeah, me too.
yeah. Um, but yeah, for Backslide though, I think it's good. I agree that that it's not as strong as Overcompensate or Next Semester for me personally. I also agree though, and I have seen this consensus from a lot of people who have been listening to it. It really is a song you have to listen to a couple times.
Yeah,
Like it doesn't click the first time just because it's kind of a like I don't even know how to describe it. It's not like weird. It definitely sounds like stuff they've done before, but like I think you just appreciate it more the more you listen to it a little bit.
for
Um,
sure.
and yeah, I mean, I also love the lyrical content. I thought one of the things that made me appreciate it a little bit more is knowing that it comes right after Next Semester,
Yeah,
and having a song, about starting fresh, starting anew or whatever, and then the next song being like, scared of falling backwards and falling back into old habits. I think that's a
yeah,
really good combo to have right after one another, and something I can relate to a lot. Having
yeah,
that fear of regressing and all that, um, and yeah, I like it in terms of that, and I also really like how the chorus grows both times.
oh yeah,
Like that's definitely my favorite aspect of the song is how that chorus keeps growing pretty much. It's a really cool thing, and Tyler's vocals sell it pretty well. But me personally, I don't love his vocal delivery throughout the entire thing. Like I think some of the
Mhm.
rapping's a little odd, especially in the second verse. Even though I like what he's saying, it was giving me some NF vibes, which is not Not necessarily something I want to be thinking about when listening to 21 Pilots. Um, it's just like a hint of NF in there, you know. But yeah, I wasn't like huge on the vocal delivery on a lot of it, and I think some of the production not in the chorus is like, I don't know. It's a weird thing. It's good. I like the song a lot, but I'm just like, I don't immediately love it as much as I
Yeah.
do Overcompensate next semester. Actually, I think next semester I didn't immediately love either. I'm trying to remember how I talked about that on Pod, but I do love it now. um, so this could very well grow on me even more. It's only been out for a little over a day, so
Yeah,
um,
yeah. It did need a few more listens to really grow on me. Like it like I said, it didn't initially like really hit like the other two did
yeah.
right off the bat. Um, but good directorial debut by Mr. Dunn, Mr.
Yes.
Josh Dunn.
Yeah, the music video was pretty cool. I liked it.
Yeah, I liked the there were some cool like parallels between that and like next semester with like the flashing back into like the past or like
Oh
a
yeah.
dark place. No Clancy mask in this one, but
No.
the also some interesting parallels between this one and like the stressed out music video
Hmm.
with the bike and the dreary fucking Ohio neighborhood.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I thought it was cool. The I like how it loops at the end in the beginning.
Hmm.
But the yeah, I was like looking at people were posting like comparisons between Tyler on the bike and Stressed Out and Tyler on the bike in this one, and I was like, damn,
Yeah.
those
Actually,
he's
yeah, sorry. I was having those same thoughts when like they were side by side. I was like, dude, he looks like a child in the stressed out music
I
video. He looks
know.
so young.
It's actually great. Like it's been 9 years. It's been a
Right.
good amount of time, but it's like, damn, dude,
I
he's
yeah, I
he's
didn't
getting
realize
old.
how much. Yeah.
Josh too at the grill. Like
Mm.
they both look like they're in their mid to late 30s at this point, and it's like
Yeah, they look their age.
they're getting up there.
Yeah.
How many backflips has Josh got left in him? Got left
I
in him.
I don't know. There's a number that's counting down. But also something we didn't mention in the lyrical content. There's a little diss towards Saturday, the song,
Yeah.
saying kind of wish I never did Saturday. What's the line right after that? Hold on. There's another part of that. Hold on. Looking at the backslide. 21 Pilots. Um, no, I don't want discussion threads. Give me lyrics. Okay. Uh, yeah, kind of wishing that I never did Saturday. Is that a stain? Or whatever. You should change. Um,
Yeah.
kind of, sounds like it's talking about the Skilled and Icy pushback in general. Um,
Yeah.
and I mean, look, I'm a Skilled and Icy defender, and I still will be no matter what the fuck you say, Tyler. So yeah.
Yeah.
I may not be a Saturday defender, to be honest, but I am a Skilled and Icy defender.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's I like I saw people talking about that and saying that like he might feel like he disappointed the fans with Scaled and Icy. It wasn't up to the same snuff that Trench was, um, and so that that part of that with just feeling bad about putting out a song like Saturday, kind of regretting it. Um, but Scaled and Icy as a whole, it doesn't deserve the flack that it got or gets
Yeah.
from a lot of people.
Agreed.
And I will die a Scaled and Icy defender as well.
Real.
But yeah, Backslide is very good. I like it a lot.
Yeah. Yep. I
Very
think it's
good.
pretty good.
Yeah, very excited to see how the album goes. But I would like no more singles, please. No more singles till the album comes out.
Yeah.
Uh,
I don't remember if it was Dane or Vaughn, but one of them's like, "Are there going to be more singles for the album?" I was like, "It's kind of in a weird point where I could really see it going either way right now. Like I could see, like it's a month away. I could see there being one more single right beforehand, or they could just kind of ride it out until then.
Yeah,
But I also would probably prefer if not another single. It's is it 12 songs? I don't remember how long it is.
13.
13.
Yeah.
There might be room in there for another single. I wouldn't be too upset about it, but
Yeah, I know that
um,
Lavish is like the shortest one on the album.
mm,
I would be okay with that one coming out if any of them were to come out.
yeah,
But I also kind of prefer that they didn't release the first three songs on the album one right after the other.
yeah,
Just because, like, I don't know, with like Trench, we heard Jumpsuit and Levitate, but we had never heard Morph, and Morph ended up being a fantastic song, a very cool
right,
first new song to hear off the album. Um, but like getting when the album drops, the first three songs you're hearing are ones that you've heard already. It's like, I don't know, kind of wish that they jumped around a little bit, but
yeah,
um, yeah. Either way, I'm still more than excited. Very, very pumped.
yep. Me too. Me too.
Yeah.
Well, I have a lot of music news. So, do you have anything to you want to go
I mean,
back
I
and
have a
forth
couple
on?
more 20. I have one more 21 Pilots
Oh,
thing.
of course.
There was they put out a thing for New York City May 2nd this
Oh,
morning.
yes, yeah.
They're doing a little show on May 2nd at a little
Has it
ballroom.
has it been confirmed that it's a show?
Yeah, I think that because I think they posted a little thing that said sold out.
Oh, okay.
So they're doing a little show next week. Um,
Cool.
so maybe we'll see some videos from that.
Yeah.
Very. Um, but yeah, go ahead.
Oh, cool. Um, Quadeca has been talking a little bit this week. There's kind of really three things from him. One, he said the Scrapyard vinyl is going to be released soon, and I remember the I Didn't Mean to Haunt You vinyl was more expensive than I was expecting. So I don't know. I may see what the pricing on that looks like, but I do like the Scrapyard album quite a bit, or mixtape, I guess. But he also was on Kevin Abstract's Coachella set this past weekend,
Uh,
and he said on stage that his album Vanisher is coming soon. So might be getting another Quadeca drop this year, which would be kind of crazy.
Those
But
are crazy.
I think Scrapyard was supposed to come out last year and it just got delayed a little bit. So I mean, I don't know. Man's cooking. Oh, and also he's there's a new Dev Lemon song coming out that he's produced pretty soon. So I'm kind of interested in that too because Dev is I haven't talked about it on here, but Dev has been releasing actually some really interesting singles recently, and a couple of them I've really enjoyed. And we'll probably have as a song of the week at some point when there's a week I don't have anything else to choose. But I think they were getting overshadowed by other stuff those days. But yeah, um,
Cool.
cool. Uh, Also, like I said, there was a few Radiohead things that I thought were kind of lining up well with our episode today. One
Right.
being the Tom York stuff. I didn't even know the entire album was coming out today, but it also, or soundtrack, I should say. But he had those singles come out earlier this week. Creep hit 1 billion views on YouTube.
Holy.
I know. Give it up for Creep. We love it. Um, and also,
Oh, sorry, wrong one.
there we go. There we go. Also, there's a song on Hail to the Thief called Backdrifts, and one of the lyrics on that song is "We're backsliding," and I thought that
Yeah.
was relevant to we didn't know 21 Pilots was even coming out this week, so it's just a lot of interesting timing on stuff. Um,
Yeah. I almost called that one back shots in my review too,
the song Backdrifts,
but yeah.
yeah, nice. Um, um, Billie Eilish did like an interview with the Rolling Stone that got a
Yeah.
little weird at points. I don't know if
Very
you.
lewd. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't read it myself, but actually I read only one part of it because I was like, did she actually say? Oh yeah, she did. Um,
Sorry
she
about masturbating in front of a mirror. Is that the one you're
yeah,
talking
yeah,
about?
yeah, she went into detail about that. That she encourages everyone should jerk off and jerk it in the mirror to appreciate themselves, seeing themselves gain pleasure. Um,
Amen, sister. Amen.
yeah, I've been saying this, but um,
I've been saying this.
it's just like okay, that's certainly something you can share with everyone, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and people were also, I'm not sure if you saw the song Lunch that I talked about that I still haven't listened to, apparently is, kind of
About
about
eating poop.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um and I was seeing some more people talk about that this week and being like, so Phineas, how do you think Phineas feels producing these songs?
I
Like,
mean, like she's had some lewd things in the past. I mean, nothing
right.
to this extent, but like, yeah, poor Phineas.
Yeah, yeah, it's getting a little more raunchy. Um Yeah, and then the last thing I have is I don't really know what the whole story about this was, but apparently Kanye was talking about getting into the porn industry. Um,
Oh
and
man,
I found it really interesting how many of the fans were drawing the line at this. There was a lot of talk online about, like, man, I've been supporting Kanye for so long, but I don't know if I could do it with this. I was seeing a lot of that on Twitter, and I'm like, bro, you should have been doing this at least a year ago, at the very least. um,
two at this point. Like, come on.
Probably, yeah. I mean, he's always been controversial, but like the stuff that was happening last year with the anti-Semitism,
Yeah,
that made me draw a line. That made most people draw a line. That
yeah.
very well should have been drawn. But apparently, that's what's getting people to stop following him because now he's not following Christian rules. But yeah, I thought that was it. I don't really know much about it, but that's
I don't either, but I did hear that as well.
yeah. Um, but yeah, I don't have anything else.
Not me either. I mean that the Joe Biden signed the TikTok ban
Oh yeah,
thing, so TikTok might be getting going bye bye soon.
yeah. We'll see. I think I was seeing that the owners have to sell it, is what I
Yeah,
saw.
yeah,
So I think at the very least it's gonna have new owners, which I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I think it's ran fairly well, to be honest, but whatever.
yeah. I mean, I know Soldier Boy said he would buy it, so.
Yeah, I saw that too.
I mean, it'll be in good hands.
Yeah, everyone's only allowed to do crank that dances on TikTok now.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of shitty that they signed this because it's pretty much solely based off the fact that people are getting real and vital information about Israel and Hamas.
Yeah, that and that the ties of the app to China, I think, are a big thing with it too. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it's just yeah, kind of ridiculous. But hey, that's America, baby.
yep,
Um, but Biden doing this on an election year when his voter base is people who use TikTok. Not the best move, bud. Like, I don't see it going the other way. I don't think people our age are gonna be voting for Trump, but it's still like, it's like, bro, what the fuck are you doing? Yeah,
I'm not looking forward to this fall. I gotta be honest with you.
me either, man.
You know what? Fuck Radiohead. Let's start a political podcast.
Yeah, yeah, fuck it.
We'll only talk about "Hail to the Thief," their political album.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
don't know. All right. Well, we're 30 minutes in, so we should probably get into this.
Yeah.
I warned Colin ahead of time, so I will also warn you, dear viewers. Listen, I had a lot to say. I don't really have this is gonna sound sad, but I don't mean it in a sad way. I don't really have anyone that I can talk about Radiohead with. Aside, I mean, Colin's listened to like OK Computer, Kid A, and Moonshaped Pool before,
And
and
Rainbow.
well, oh, and in Rainbows, yeah, that's my bad. He's listened to those ones before, so I've been able to talk about the really critically acclaimed ones with him. But some of the deep cut stuff, I'm like, I've had a lot to say. I've only typed my little words on album of the year before, and I wanted to talk, so I talked, and so this is hands down the longest note I've ever written for this episode. So
Perfect.
for our Broken Boys episode, but yeah, this is like.
I'm excited to hear it. I'm excited.
That's good to hear. I have, I think, a full thing of water next to me, so hopefully that should be good. But yeah, Radiohead is like, I don't really know if they're kind of like tied with 21 Pilots for my favorite band. I love them both for very different reasons. But yeah, they're really up there for me. So I'm excited to talk about it, and I have a lot to say. I guess I kind of just spoiled the albums you've already listened to, but do you have any other things you knew or thought about Radiohead prior to this or anything?
I've I listened to those four prior to this. I've thought very highly of every album I've heard from them. I loved OK Computer and In Rainbows and A Moonshaped Pool, like off rip. First listen, I was like, "Ooh, this is really fucking good." I've always wanted to listen to more of them. I probably would have listened to the rest of it had they not been on the wheel.
Mm.
But I did want to kind of save some of them for this episode. I wasn't expecting it to take 2 years, but hey, we
Yeah.
made it.
Yeah, there's a few artists like that I also have similar feelings with. One of them being Arcade Fire. It's like I feel like I would have listened to more Arcade Fire projects at this point, but I'm almost saving that for whenever we inevitably roll them.
Right.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that with Tame Impala for me right now. Like I want to, and I have wanted to for a while, but it's like they're on there, so it's like I will at some point. It's
exactly.
Like, okay.
It's like it's coming.
But yeah, I mean, I obviously I've heard you talk at length about a lot of them and gush about them and where their merch and stuff like that. And I've always just yeah, and I like them a lot. And this analysis has only made that like into a love. So
oh, okay, yeah. A little bit of a tease
there. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I guess I can start if that's okay. I don't know. Cool. Well, we start off in 1993 with Pablo Honey. I said, Pablo Honey. This album gets a lot of hate, especially amongst Radiohead fans, simply because it's completely different from the other stuff that they do. It's very mainstream sounding, especially for the time. Not really as innovative as their other stuff. I've only revisited this record a few times, and I do think it is slightly overhated. Yeah, it's not a great Radiohead album, but that doesn't mean it's like automatically a bad album in general. I honestly think the way you listen to this project, the best way to listen to it is just to pretend that you're living in like the alternate reality of 1993, and imagine that you're listening to this new band for the very first time, and no other context beyond that. In that scenario, I think it really is just kind of a decent 90s alternative rock album that's pretty derivative of its contemporaries, but not necessarily bad. I think there's still a lot to like about it, in my opinion. There's some genuinely great moments on here. I really like the opener "You" that has like this mathy angstiness on it. Very grungy, but also really interesting in the production and like the arrangement and stuff. I really like the chorus and the vocals on "Stop Whispering," and the closer "Blowout" is really cool too. It almost like foreshadows the talents that they'll be showing on like the Bends, and on their further albums, just kind of more experimenting with sound and doing interesting things. And then we also have Radiohead's favorite song, the members, "Creep," the big one, which is a great song, honestly. And I think it's proven to be pretty timeless, despite it being pretty attached to the grunge sound. I think it still is very relevant in pop culture nowadays. You still hear it in a lot of places, especially covers of it and everything. But yeah, another thing I enjoy about it is the youthful energy throughout. I think Tom York's vocals sound really young and angsty on here in a good way. The guitar solos can be pretty hectic and noisy, which is pretty fun. And the band overall is having just quite a bit of fun in general on here. And with how drab and serious Radiohead gets after this with their music, I think it's honestly a nice change of pace hearing them let loose a little bit on here. But like I said, most of this album is pretty forgettable and holds most of my least favorite tracks from the band. I just finished listening to the album for maybe the sixth or seventh time as of writing this in my life. And for the life of me, I could not even hum to you the melodies of Lurgy, Vegetable, I Can't, or Ripcord. The middle of this record up until the closer is just various shades of mid, even if I still like their general vibes and instrumentations. Um, so yeah, it's a bit overhated, but it's definitely a decent output for a debut record in general. Um, my favorites were Blowout, You, Creep, Stop Whispering. My least favorites were How Do You, I Can't, Lurgy, and Thinking About You. And overall, I have it at like a light to decent 6.
Cool. All right, yeah. Pablo Honey said, when I heard You, I was genuinely confused as to why people said this was a much different sound for them. But it became very apparent soon after Creep. Honestly, though, it wasn't too bad. Tom sounded a lot different than I would have than what I've become used to, and their style was also very different from what I've come to love as well. But I said, as I was listening to this, I wrote, I'm excited to see just how drastic that switch is, though. Um, and it was cool to see as I'll get to write. A lot of the songs are pretty forgettable, and I probably won't be returning to most of it. But I didn't mind the more rock forward approach, and the lyricism is fairly good. From what I've heard, I understand this being at the bottom of their discography for Radiohead heads, but it definitely wasn't awful. Okay debut. But my favorites were Creep, You, Blowout, I Can't, Prove Yourself, and Anyone Can Play Guitar. And my least favorites were Thinking About You, Ripcord, and How Do You. And I gave it a light 6 as well.
Cool. Well,
Yeah.
um, I kind of wanted to do a fun thing for myself a little bit
Oh,
here. Radiohead is also known to have a strong collection of EPs and B-sides, a lot of which I haven't heard before. So if it's okay with you, Colin, I went behind your back and listened to more Radiohead without you.
no.
So I did at the end of each of these, if it's okay, I do kind of just want to talk about the EPs just very briefly, just because I know you didn't listen to them. But just to give my thoughts and the other half of my listening I did this week, if that's cool. So how Pablo Honey had 3 EPs and some singles. Um, Drill EP from 1992 is their earliest released work, which is really cool to hear. But it's just 4 songs with rough mixes. 3 of the songs made it to Pablo Honey. And the last one, which is the only original song, is called Stupid Car. It's kind of cool, but it's pretty unfinished. Although they have a version of Prove Yourself on here that I think is actually better than the one on the album. And I gave that a strong 5. They had the Creep EP in 1992, which has 3 new songs, 2 versions of Creep, fuck yes, uh, and a remix of Blowout with worse drums.
No.
The unique songs range from Pablo Honey mid to actually pretty decent. Inside My Head was my favorite new song on there. I gave it a decent 6. And the last one was Anyone Can Play Guitar EP from 1994. Contains 2 new songs along with 3 repeats from Pablo Honey. Pop is Dead is a fun track to check out if you want to hear Radiohead from like an alternate universe complaining about 90s pop music. It's a really uncanny track, but it's kind of funny in retrospect. They've been trying like their best to remove it from the internet, but it's still out there. It's a fun one. And then there's a song called Killer Cars, which is pretty cool. The repeated tracks on here aren't my favorite, except for Creep, which I think is a good song. And they were pushing it a lot at this time. It was on a lot, all these EPs. Overall, I gave it a light 5. And then there was a couple singles. One was called Faithless the Wonder Boy. Faithless the Wonder Boy, which I thought was mid, and then there was a song called Coke Babies, which I thought was good. It was good. So yeah, that's all the B sides. That's all the B sides for Pablo Honey. What'd you say?
What? Nothing.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, you take us into the Bends.
All right, we got the Bends in 1995. Said off rip, I was enjoying this record a hell of a lot more than Pablo Honey. I always just thought this one was the funny album cover Radiohead album, but I ended up genuinely surprised by how much I enjoyed the record. The opening 2 tracks are genuinely fantastic, and the quality is up tenfold this entire project from what it was on the debut record. I said Tom and the band seem a lot more engaged and happy about the work that they were doing on the Bends, and that helped to make the listening experience very good for me. I love the guitar work and the production throughout. Still solidly in a rock state of mind here, but again, just more confident and passionate in the job that they were doing. But awesome album, and I'll definitely be returning to it in the future to dissect it deeper. But yeah, I genuinely really like this album. I think the Planet Telex and the Bends are really good. Probably some of my favorite tracks from them.
Oh wow.
That I've heard. But yeah, my favorites were Planet Telex, the Bends, like Fake Plastic Trees, Just, My Iron Lung, and Bulletproof I Wish I Was, and my least favorites were High and Dry and Sulk, and I gave it a strong 8.
All right. Yeah, I had a feeling you would like this album a lot. I don't know if I've done it recently, but I know a while ago I did suggest it to you because I know you like this type of '90s rock, and this is like a really good example of that. Um, but yeah, the Bends, 1995. While Pablo Honey was a little bit of a wobbly start, the Bends is like they caught their balance and immediately course corrected. The Bends is great. This is alternative 90s rock, except it's one of the more memorable albums instead of a completely forgettable one like Pablo Honey was. Pretty much everything improves on here. The songs are more interesting and dynamic. Tom's vocals are arguably at his best in their entire discography, to be honest. The production is much fuller. Johnny Greenwood is writing his signature string sections for the first time on here, so we're getting some beautiful orchestral stuff too. And I said, "Oh yeah, it's all coming together now." But some of my favorite Radiohead tracks appear on here, most notably "Fake Plastic Trees" for me. I've had many emotional moments of this track, and I teared up to the end of it during this listen as well. It's a really touching one, and just gorgeous vocals on there from Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah, and songs like "Just" and "My Iron Lung," and I don't know if I've talked to you about it before, but "My Iron Lung" is basically a diss track against Creep. Yeah, it's great. But both that and "Just" are full of like this noisy and angsty energy that never really gets old for me. And some songs are still growing on me to this day, with Black Star being one that I've enjoyed a lot more as of late. And Planet Telex actually grew on me a lot during this very listen, to be honest with you. I've always liked the song, but I think I haven't listened to it with headphones in a long time. I was like, damn. Um, but yeah, there are a couple tracks on here that do feel like just slightly better Pablo Honeycuts, mainly the songs Bones and Sulk, which I don't really care for them as much. But they're still, like I said, better Pablo Honey tracks, so they're good. But overall, this is just a really strong record in their catalog, and one I return to pretty frequently. My favorites on here are Fake Plastic Trees, My Iron Lung, Just, Planet Telex, Street Spirit Fade Out, and Nice Dream. And my least favorites are Bones, Sulk, and High and Dry. And overall, I gave it a strong 8 as well.
Wow.
Yeah. And yeah, the Bends has 4 EPs. Some are more significant than others. My Iron Lung from 1994 has the titular track on it, along with 6 new songs.
Oh,
It's kind of like an early version of Hail to the Thief or Amnesiac, but still with like the vibes of Pablo Honey. It's a really weird mix of sounds, but it's like kind of interesting though. It was released before the Bends as well, so it's like a unique snapshot of their sound, and I like it quite a bit. My favorites on there were The Trickster and Punch Drunk Love Sick Sing Along. Um, and overall, I'll give that a strong 7. High and Dry slash Planet Telex was an EP that came out in 1995. Contains those two tracks along with a new song called Maquiladora that was decent, and a surprisingly interesting remix of Planet Telex that I very much enjoyed. I gave that a light 8, that EP. Fake Plastic Trees from 1995 is a damn good collection featuring 3 tracks. One of them is Fake Plastic Trees, which I already talked about and love. The second is called India Rubber, which is almost like this psychedelic inspired track that is like really calming, but then turns like really creepy towards the end. Um,
Okay.
it was cool and very interesting. But and then the last one is called How Can You Be Sure? It's a nice little guitar ballad with, drumroll please, a female vocalist on it. There's
Oh,
a woman in Radiohead.
wow.
I don't remember her name. She was like from like a band at the time that never really got a lot of traction or something. But her voice worked really well with Tom York. But yeah, I put Radiohead fans everywhere are going wild, um, and I gave that a strong 8. And then the last one, Street Spirit Fade Out, contains the titular track on it, along with 4 new songs. Talk Show Host is a single I've known for a while now, and it's definitely one of my favorite B-sides from them. And it's going to be one of my favorites by the end of this, is what I wrote. Um, and Bishop's Robes and Banana Co. were pretty good too. But it ends on a Pablo Honey esque track. That's kind of a stinker called Molasses. It was whatever. I give that a decent 8. And that's the end of the EPs for the for the bands. There are less EPs as it goes on. I swear not all those will be that long.
All
Okay, the Bends is over. Now we're into OK Computer, 1997. Uh, I said, to be completely honest, it's a little hard for me to talk about this album objectively. Over the last several years, I've listened through it so many times, through so many different moods and developments in my personal life, and it's to the point where I just know these songs like the back of my hand in every shade and every color, pretty much. Um, but there was a time in my life when I thought it was a tad bit overrated in their discography. But then I remember I had a single thought that snapped me out of that mindset, and that thought was, if any of these songs were placed onto another Radiohead album, they would be one of the best tracks on that record.
right.
It's and if it isn't clear, I fucking love this band and these albums, and I still believe that to this day, that any of these tracks could be placed on another album and be the highlight, one of the highlights. The consistency and quality on this album is just insane. I love the emotional journey it takes you on, with no 2 songs sounding exactly the same. The themes of modernism and isolation are just as hard hitting today as they were in 1997, if not more, with how much technology has advanced. It almost feels ahead of its time in some ways. And Yeah, the songs themselves all go on musical journeys as well that are perfectly orchestrated, written, and executed. Paranoid Android is kind of the prime example of this. It's the longest and most multi-sectional song in their album discography. But even something that, yeah, it's just a great song. I should have wrote a little bit more about that, but it's a Paranoid Android is fantastic. But even something that appears like a simple song, like the closer, The Tourist, is just like this beautiful slow burn of a track that just hits like a truck every time that chorus kicks in, and that final guitar solo on it. It's beautiful. The details and pacing of this record are just astounding, and everything is just so meticulously placed together into a perfect package, and I love it. And if all of this has failed to convince you, our dear viewer, I would just have one question for you. Without OK Computer, would we have OK Orchestra? I rest my case. um, and my favorites
What do
on
we
it.
have?
What are you saying?
What do we have? Okay, human.
That too.
What do we have? Okay, okay.
Oh yes. I was like, what is that? Yes, the Half Alive song. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we have OK anything at this. um,
Seriously.
but yeah, my favorites on it are Exit Music for a Film, No Surprises, Paranoid Android, Climbing Up the Walls is a really underrated one that I've been loving. Karma Police and Airbag, and my least favorite is Let Down, but it's still amazing. I put it in parentheses. And overall, it's a 10.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right. Cool. Yeah. OK Computer, 1997. Who Hurt You, Tom?
Society.
Yeah. This jump in quality is actually insane, especially considering the jump from Pablo to the Benz. The passion I was experiencing in the last record is here and ever more prevalent on this record, and I adore it. The production is absolutely fantastic. The songwriting and lyricism are breathtaking and extremely emotional. Only made better and more complete by Tom York's vocal stylings, those of which are much more like I've come to expect from the albums that I had heard prior to this artist analysis. OK Computer is undeniably a classic and endlessly impressive, and an endlessly impressive feat. That is what the fuck did I write, dude? It's extremely deserving of being many people's favorite Radiohead record. This is an absolutely amazing album, and I love it to pieces. My favorites. It also has like two songs that I think, or at least two songs that are perfect or close to perfect. One of which being my first favorite, No Surprises. I absolutely adore that track ever since I heard it for the first time and watched that video. Really just exit music for a film, Karma Police, The Tourist, Paranoid Android, Electioneering, and Lucky. And my least favorite was Fit or Happier, and that was just like the robotic voice track. But I also give it a 10.
All right. And do you remember, was the first time you watched the No Surprises music video, was that for the music video episode that we did a long time ago?
Possibly. It could have been that. It could have been earlier than that.
Yeah, I don't remember either. Yeah, because I know that's what I brought up for the music video one.
Yeah, for sure. I just remember being just enthralled with how they did that, and like yeah, but really good. If you haven't seen that video, go watch that. It's really good.
Absolutely. And yeah, I'll interrupt you briefly. I only listened to one thing because from the OK Computer era, which is a 2017 remaster called OK Not OK. And this remaster has all of the B-sides that they did from this era, along with like 3 unreleased tracks previously. And it has 11 songs on it in total. And I have heard it before this review. I've listened to it a few times. The 3 unreleased tracks on it, I Promise, Man of War, and Lift, are all fucking phenomenal, and honestly could have been on the original album and it would still be a 10 for me. Like they're all really great tracks. Man of War especially is sick as hell, and it has a whole history with it being a failed James Bond theme a few times. But it's a really good track, and honestly I do kind of it would fit really well into the album. It's a really one you should check out. But the rest of the tracks are also really high quality, and honestly, the set of B-sides trumps many people's careers in general. So yeah, it's such an insane time period for this band, is what I said, and I give it a strong 8 overall.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. We got Kid A in 2000.
Kid A.
Kid A. Yeah, I said these dudes are actually insane. Yet another switch up, but this time into an electronic sound. It was just a very cool and unprecedented move. But again, I gotta ask, who hurt you, Tom? Songwriting is still at an all-time high, and the production being so different this time around makes it a really unique experience in Radiohead's discography thus far. There are also those super cool moments where different horns and other more orchestral instruments were brought in that created a very cool atmosphere away from the colder sound of these new electronic synths and beats. I liked this album a lot the first time around that I listened to it, and I still very much enjoy it. Um, I think I still need time to like really digest it. And this is like only the real second time that I've listened to it all the way through. But I do really, really enjoy it. It's really, really good. It's my favorites were How to Disappear Completely, Everything in Its Right Place, Morning Bell, The National Anthem, Optimistic, and In Limbo. And my least favorites were Kid A and Tree Fingers. And I give it a strong 8 overall.
Cool. Yeah. Kid A, 2000. Some of the hardest questions for me to answer are questions like, what's your favorite song or what's your favorite album? Because the answer is always fluctuating for me. But I have given the answer of Kid A multiple times to my favorite album. And if it's not my favorite, it's certainly in the top 5 for me. There's a reason this album is labeled as one of the greatest left turns of all time. OK Computer instantly launched Radiohead into like legendary status at the time, and the amount of pressure and expectation on the band led them to basically just switch genres completely into the worlds of electronic music. They made stuff that was electronic inspired before, but there isn't even a guitar on this project until track 4, and there isn't an electric guitar until track 6. I remember an interesting discussion I had in my electronic production class that I took a little over a year ago now. My professor that was teaching it was around in the classical music academic world when this had dropped. And he said how well respected this album was amongst himself and his colleagues, like at the time, because this type of electronic sound hadn't really had this many eyes on it before this album released. It was kind of a polarizing switch up at the time. But now it's seen in the same conversation as OK Computer, and in my opinion, I think it's slightly better. I think I think my favorite thing about this album is how it just crafts its own soundscape. Everything feels so minimal, dark, and cold, but not necessarily in a way that feels too drab or depressing. It's fucking sad at points, but I really find it so easy to just put on Kid A for an immersive electronic experience. And I think something I didn't mention in my review, but that you brought up, I do think like the strings and like the horns and stuff that get added in on some songs do add a lot of warmth to that sound in a really, really nice way. But yeah, I think the length of the record is perfect. The pacing throughout it is perfect. And I would consider most of the songs to be perfect as well. I've talked on the pod before how I think How to Disappear Completely is probably my favorite Radiohead song. But many of these songs, other songs, have incredible highlights as well. The unnerving and alien build of Everything in Its Right Place is super iconic at this point and just really, really well done. The groovy and bipolar nature of like Morning Bell is really cool to me, and I'm actually really I mentioned this when you chose as your song of the week, but I'm really glad you vibe with that track as well. Morning Bell's awesome, and then the free jazz horns going on, insane in the national anthem, man. And then I find Tree Fingers to be just this absolutely gorgeous like ambient piece. It's just the whole thing is just perfect to me. I said it's perfect. It really is. I've already written a lot on this, and trust me, I could write more, but I fucking love this album, and I think it's kind of infinitely replayable for me. My favorites are How to Disappear Completely, Morning Bell, Everything in Its Right Place, Motion Picture Soundtrack, The National Anthem, Idiotech, Optimistic, Kid A, and Limbo, and Tree Fingers. And I don't have any least favorites listed. And overall, I gave it a 10 as well.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay. For the B-sides for Kid A. Kid A and Amnesiac were written at the same time in the same like studio sessions. But Amnesiac has a couple projects of extras on its own. So for this part, I'm just going to cover the 2021 anniversary combined album called Kid Amnesia that they released. We'll talk about that. The band was experimenting with a lot of shit at this time, and this you can really tell in this collection of tracks. There's 12 songs here, and it's really weird, but really interesting for them. It's mostly alternate versions of songs from the two albums, but there's 2 original tracks on it, one of which is good, if you say the word. I think it's pretty good, and one of which is not very good, called Follow Me Around. I think this song is kind of annoying and overly long. But the alternate versions of the songs range from really cool and kind of weird to just like really uncanny in a bad way. There's a cool version of like spinning plates on here, and a version of another B-side called Fog that comes up on an EP later. That's pretty cool. But my favorites are definitely Pyramid Strings and How to Disappear in the Strings, which are just the isolated orchestral parts of Pyramid Song and How to Disappear completely. How to Disappear strings in particular are like absolutely breathtaking on their own. It's just gorgeous. Shout out Johnny Greenwood again. But not everything is great on here. For instance, there's an alternate version of the weird polk/pole revolving doors instrumental from Amnesiac that has an early version of True Love Waits over top of it, which is the closer of A Moon-Shaped Pool. I don't want to spoil my thoughts on either of those songs, but uncanny is the perfect describing word for that experience. Yeah, the whole collection of tracks has like a uniquely unsettling vibe to it too. It's kind of like Everything at the End of Time at places. It's just like really weird how they transition between the songs. It's a really interesting listen, but it's kind of like a one listen thing. But I think it's worth it for that one time. So I gave it a decent 7. Cool. All right. 2001, Amnesiac. 2001, the year of Mike and Colin, and a national tragedy. Not Amnesiac. But, yeah. Yeah, I said for Amnesiac, despite the reputation of Kid A, oh, sorry. I didn't really know where I was going with that sentence. Despite the reputation of Kid A, I really do think Amnesiac is Radiohead's weirdest album. The genre blending done in this album is nothing quite like they've done before, or honestly, even after. In that sense, I really do respect it, and even though it was recorded in the same sessions as Kid A, it has its own distinctive character to it. That being said, I don't think they hit every mark on here. Some songs are fantastic. I really think Pyramid Song is one of their most interesting and satisfying songs. I Might Be Wrong is like this dark, groovy thing that's really fun, especially on repeated listens. And Knives Out has like this really uniquely unsettling tone to it, and I really like it. And it inspired the movie Knives Out, at least the name of it. So, gotta give credit there. Actually, we've now listened to both Knives Out and Glass Onion as part of these artist analysis series. So
yeah, we have. Look at that.
Shout out Ryan Johnson.
Hell yeah.
But this record also holds some songs that I straight up am not a fan of, to be honest. Polk/Pole Revolving Doors is my least favorite album cut from Radiohead. There's an initial transition into the track, and the first 30 seconds of the beat are like really cool in the album listening. But then Tom just has these weird ass vocal effects that sound dated as hell coming on him, and he just comes in talking about different types of doors. It's just, it feels way more up its own ass than most experimental Radiohead songs do. It just feels like an inferior version to Kid A, the song. But speaking of Kid A, the album, the Amnesiac version of Morning Bell is also something I've never really loved. I don't hate it by any means, but I think it's way less interesting than the Kid A counterpart. And then the song Dollars and Cents is one of the most forgettable songs in their later discography. Again, it's not bad, but it's just kind of 5 minutes of nothingness to me. I still enjoy the album quite a bit and come back to it on occasion. It fits a certain vibe. But I do think it falters in a lot of ways that impact my enjoyment overall. This is a bit of a hipster fan favorite. If you want some updates on Reddit from fellow Amnesiac lovers, you can get them by talking positively about this album. But I think it's one of the weakest albums in their discography, despite having really good high points on it. So my favorites are Pyramid Song, I Might Be Wrong, Knives Out, Life in a Glass House, You and Whose Army. Oh, that was the last one. And You and Whose Army. And my least favorites are Polk/Pole Revolving Doors, Dollars and Cents, Morning Bell Amnesiac, and Packed Like Sardines in a Crushed Tin Box. And overall, I give it a strong 6.
Okay. Yeah, Amnesiac. I said this one is a little weird for me. While I did enjoy a vast majority of this record had to offer, it just wasn't hitting as hard as the last couple albums had been. It's very sonically similar to Kid A, and it came out only a year after when I said, which is why I assumed they were packaged together a couple years ago. But now I know that's why.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It just didn't capture me as much as the last couple, which is okay. I like the feel of it. It's still a little cold from the electronic sound, but it's filled with more warm moments from some great guitar work and even a jazzy section in the closer. While I did have a good time with the record, I may need another listen or two for it to really capture me like the last few. But my favorites were Packed Like Sardines in a Crushed Tin Box, Pyramid Song, Life in a Glass House, Knives Out, Morning Bell, Amnesiac, and Dollars and Cents. And my least favorites for Polk/Pole Revolving Doors and Hunting Bears. Polk/Pole Revolving Doors was not good. Didn't like that one. And I gave it a decent 7. I don't know.
That's all right.
It didn't hit as hard, but I still found enjoyment in it.
Yeah, for me, this album was at a light 7 for a long time, but on this listen, I'm just like, for me personally, there's just a lot of tracks I just think are really weak by their standards. But, you know, I'm also a little more negative towards it than a lot of Radiohead fans are, but, you know, whatever.
Okay.
But yeah, real quick, Amnesiac has 2 small EPs. Pyramid Song from 2001 contains the titular track along with 4 B-sides on it. This collection leans into some of the weirder parts of Amnesiac, but honestly in a way that works better for me than my least favorite parts of the full album, like Polk/Polk or, you know, that kind of stuff. It also has the weirdest Radiohead song title by far. They have a track called The Amazing Sounds of Orgy. Yeah. I give it a light 8 as a whole. And then Knives Out from 2001 contains the titular track and 3 new tracks and an extended version of the closer, Life in a Glass House. And it's a much more relaxed sound than the last. There's a song on here called Worrywort that sounds like it's straight out of Minecraft. But it's cool. Yeah, it's a great little EP, and combined with the last one, I honestly think it would make a better album than the one we got. So yeah, I give it a strong 8. And then there was also a live album in 2001, which I'm only mentioning because it contains a live acoustic version of True Love Waits, the closer from A Moon-Shaped Pool. I believe this song has been around since the start of the Bends, but this was the only official release that they had of it for 15 years, and it was a fan favorite. So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Cool. I forgot. I think you started Hail to the Thief.
Okay. Hail to the Thief in 2003. I said this one's also interesting for me. I really like the drive behind instrumentals, especially the guitars at certain points. That mixed with the entertaining electronic influence added a very cool flair to this record. There are also genuine moments of unease and discomfort in songs like We Suck Young Blood, which I really enjoyed, with Tom's haunting vocals, and it was just creepy to me on first listen. But haunting vocals being backed up by some very beautiful piano. I looked into the context and meaning behind what the album was trying to convey, because I wasn't really getting it. And I thought it was cool to see that the style of music, in reference to the more right-leaning governments in the US and the UK around the time of the album came out.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, cool. I see what they were doing. But yeah, overall, pretty good album that I think I also need more listens to, because I wasn't like, it's kind of like a weird in between album that I was like, I haven't listened to this one. I've seen the album cover, of course, but I don't know. I think I need another listen to really get it. But my favorites for now were We Suck Young Blood, Mike.
Huh? What's up?
Myxomatosis.
Myxomatosis, yeah.
Myxomatosis. Sail to the Moon, 2 + 2 = 5, A Wolf at the Door, and A Punch Up at a Wedding, which is also like the most British thing I've ever heard. And my least favorites were The Gloaming and is that Leatherbrain?
Scatterbrain.
Scatterbrain. I can't read my own handwriting, and I also gave this one a decent 7.
All right, cool. I said Hail to the Thief from 2004. Radiohead makes a triumphant return to rock music and gives it all that they got. And by giving it all they got, I mean they go slightly overboard. There's a lot to love within this record, but in my opinion, I've seen it in a lot of people's discussion, there's one issue that plagues this whole album. It's a bit bloated. It's their longest album, both in tracks and in, just length in general. And even though it's still under an hour, it's somewhat of a bumpy journey. I've always felt that there was a bunch of filler on this record, and now that I'm listening to these B-sides in general as well, I absolutely think some of these tracks should have been cut from the full experience to make it more concise and just put as some of the B-sides, because some of the B-sides are really quality that they cut from the other records. Another issue this record has is something that they usually do really well. Pacing. Not only are the tracks ordered a little weird, in my opinion, but many of them just go on way longer than they need to. One of the saddest offenders of this for me is A Punch Up at a Wedding, which is a song I really enjoy, but it doesn't need a 2-minute outro repeating the same loop that's in the rest of the song. It's just like, there's a lot of songs that do that on here. Not to that extent, but yeah. Aside from a few tracks that I'm a little meh on, there's a lot of things that stuck when it was thrown at the wall. They threw a lot of things at the wall, and a lot of things did stick. Some of Radiohead's most underrated tracks around here for me, such as the beautiful piano ballad of Sail to the Moon, the dark and groovy grittiness of Myxomatosis, or the really passionate vocal performances on Scatterbrain, I really like a lot too. And then the big songs on here are also great. I love the rocking energy on the opener, 2 + 2 = 5. The driving bass line on Where I End and You Begin is honestly one of my favorite bass lines of all time. Shout out Colin Greenwood. I'm not sure. Did you know that? Did you know there was a Radiohead album or a Radiohead member named Colin?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, I think it's Johnny Greenwood's younger brother. No, older brother. Yeah, he's older. But I just recently began understanding the hype for the song There as well. I slept on that track for a while, but it's probably the most recent song of theirs to claw its way into my favorites by them. So yes, it's a bit of a mess. And I think the band have even addressed the bloatedness before. And I think Tom York actually made an alternate track list that he would redo if he could redo the album or something like that. I don't know. It's kind of weird, but it still holds some really strong highlights on here, even if it isn't their most cohesive project for me. My favorites are Sail to the Moon, There, Myxomatosis, 2 + 2 = 5, A Wolf at the Door, Where I End and You Begin, I Will, and Scatterbrain. And my least favorites are We Suck Young Blood and The Gloaming. Backdrifts and A Punch Up at a Wedding. And overall, I also gave it a decent 7.
Cool.
So.
Wow.
Cool. Hail to the Thief has one album, one EP is what I meant to put there, and one extra single. The EP is called Comlag 2 + 2 = 5. It's a weird name. From 2004. It's a weird compilation record that has like 3 remixes on it, 2 live versions, and 5 B-sides. It's just a lot of things on there. It's just as inconsistent as the album. One of the B-sides on here is called Gagging Order, and it's like a straight-up singer-songwriter cut that's really nice to hear. It's just Tom York on the guitar, but it's really, really raw in a nice way. But the other B-sides are various electronic experiments that Tom York was definitely at the helm of. They sound exactly like his debut album that he released a couple years after this, but they sound like early versions of songs from there, so they're not as good. But also there's a really bad Myxomatosis remix on here that was kind of funny bad, to be honest. Possibly the worst thing that was released under Radiohead's name. I don't even remember it, but I do remember it being bad. But yeah, gave that whole thing a decent 6. And in 2005, there was a charity single that they released called I Want None of This, which features Tom York singing gloomily on the piano. It's nothing crazy, but it's a nice listen if anyone's interested. And just for Radiohead lore in general, the original contract that they signed with their label ended at Hail to the Thief. So since Hail to the Thief, they've actually been independent and just, I think all the albums were like announced a week ahead of time and then just released on their website. So that was their last album under a label. Yeah, cool. All right. Cool. Oh gosh, I put two very long ones right next to each other, and I'm speaking for both of them. Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna do a little water break. Little water break for the audience too. Stay hydrated. All right.
How you doing?
Good. Yep. All right. In Rainbows, 2007. Goddamn, this shit is so good. It's been a while since I've listened to this record with headphones on, and it's an even better experience that way. Many people consider this to be their favorite Radiohead album, and I really don't blame them. The consistency on this project is kind of unmatched in their discography, and I think this album has the highest ratio of just like perfect songs in a track list. But also, this record just ages better every year. So much modern indie and alternative art rock music nowadays. It just sounds exactly like this album. And it takes a sec to wrap my head around this release being from 2007. Know what else came out in 2007? Graduation by Kanye, Riot by Paramore, Infinity on High by Fall Out Boy. To me, all of those records sound like the sounds of 2007. And putting this right up next to them, it's like, damn, this was produced really well and has aged so good. I know it can be a bit of an exaggerative statement when I say this album sounds like it came out yesterday, but it literally sounds like it came out yesterday. The production is otherworldly on here, and so is Mr. York at the mic. This is probably his second best album vocally, but I don't know. I might have to have to demote the Bends on that front because I forgot just how good his voice is on here. Nude is one of my favorite ballads from them. Every layer that stacks up in this song just feels like a sad, pillowy landscape. Jigsaw Falling Into Place is another standout. That groove and the build throughout the entire song is just pure ear candy. Weird Fish's arpeggi is some of the best instrumentation that they've ever pulled off, and it sounds majestic as hell. And I love the energetic opening duo of 15 Step and Body Snatchers, both of which are so fun to start off the album. But I do have one kind of controversial take. I think the closer videotape is good. Great, even. But it doesn't hit for me like the rest of their closers do. I don't love the piano line on it, and I think the echoey drum effects that are in the back half of it, they're just a little tacky and I think a little pointless. I think it's just kind of weird for the sake of being weird. I don't know, it feels slightly awkward to me. I love the track lyrically and vocally, but everything else about it is just kind of slightly underwhelming for me. And since it's the closer, it does kind of mark it down for me a little bit more because their closers are usually some of my favorite tracks on the album. But personal gripes aside, there's a reason people love this album so passionately. And if you're watching this video, gotten this far, and have not listened to any Radiohead before, I would recommend this to be your starting point. It's easily accessible, still sounds fresh, and it's just damn good. Yeah, my favorites are Jigsaw Falling Into Place, Nude, Weird Fish's Arpeggi, Reckoner, 15 Step, Body Snatchers, and All I Need. And my least favorite is Videotape. And overall, I give it a strong 9.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. In Rainbows, 2007. This is the first Radiohead album that I ever listened to, and I still absolutely love it. Something about this one seems more alive or revitalized than the last couple to me. Tom seems more passionate. I love the instrumentals and the production across this whole project. The lyrics are also fantastic, as they have been throughout their entire discography. This one just was hitting more. But specifically here, the final track was kind of hitting like a truck, and I was reading the lyrics and I listened along as I was listening along and reading the lyrics. I don't know, something about it. I was like, damn. I don't know, but hey,
that's fair.
Fair, yeah.
I have the controversial opinion there, so you're probably more in the right.
No one's right. It's all subjective.
Nope. Radiohead's the best. Yeah.
So this project is special, and I really love every moment of it. I've really enjoyed their work so far, but nothing has captured me quite like this since OK Computer. During this artist analysis, fantastic record that I recommend everyone looks into for sure.
Yeah.
And my favorites were 15 Step, Nude, Weird Fishes, Less Arpeggio, Videotape, All I Need, and Faust Arp. And I don't have any of these favorites listed, and I also give it a strong 9.
All right. Shout out to Faust Arp too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Cool. And before we get into that, In Rainbows has 1 EP and 2 singles attached to it. In Rainbows, disc 2 from 2009 is a 6-track EP that I have listened to before. And goddamn, man, I think this is their best B-sides project. Some of the tracks are just as good as the main album, but what? I don't know what I was trying to write there. There's a typo here that I don't know what it was meant to be. Some of the tracks are just as good as the main album, but they're different enough to where I can see why they were cut from the record. I love Down is the New Up and Go Slowly. And Last Flowers is a gorgeous ballad that I think honestly could have gone on the album and maybe could have replaced Videotape in my opinion. But there are a couple songs that are a little more repetitive, but the thing overall is like extremely worth checking out, especially if you love In Rainbows. And I give it a strong 8. And then they had a track called Harry Patch in Memory of. It came out in 2009, and this is basically just an early track from A Moon-Shaped Pool, is what it sounds like. It's just Tom and an orchestra, but it contains some of the most beautiful string parts I've heard from Johnny Greenwood. Yeah, it's a little repetitive, but it's absolutely gorgeous, and one of my favorite B-sides here. And then there's a song called These Are My Twisted Words, which came out in 2009. And it's like this dark, mathy jam session. It's a pretty cool track for nerds like me who like counting along to music, but it doesn't really go anywhere throughout the whole thing, but it's cool. Cool. All right. Tell us about King of Limbs, Colin.
Right. King of Limbs, 2011. This one surprised me a bit. Towards the end of discographies for artist analysis, it's hard for me not to feel a little fatigue. So when I thought this one was shorter, I was a little excited. However, having not heard much about this album, I didn't really know what to expect. The soundscapes that they created for this project are really gorgeous all throughout, and the lyrics being a little shorter and more repetitious made this one very cool. It made this one a very cool and interesting listen for me. Speaking of repetition, the kind of looping of the background instrumentals in a lot of the tracks up top, on top of some of the lyrical content, brought back that kind of uneasiness that some of Hail the Thief gave me, which was also cool with how creepy the album artwork is. I like this one a lot more than I thought and than I was expecting, and I will be back for more in-depth listens. But I was happy to see that this one pleasantly surprised me. And my favorites were Give Up the Ghost, Lotus Flower, Separator, Bloom, and Feral. And my least favorite was Codex, and I gave it a decent 8.
All right, cool. Yeah, I literally opened up my review of King of Limbs 2011. I opened it up with saying, I'm especially to hear your thoughts on this one. And that's really interesting to hear. Yeah, this album often gets criticized by fans and critics alike. It's commonly placed in the bottom 2 of their discography, right next to Pablo Honey. Radiohead goes electronic again, but this time it's focused on electronic effects, such as delays and loop pedals. And a lot of these songs, when they do them live, they are like live looping things. And I think they had to hire a second drummer on to play this album live. Yeah, so essentially they're using their rock instruments, but they're fucking with it a lot. And honestly, I have grown to love this album. That's right. I am publicly saying Amnesiac is overrated and The King of Limbs is overhated. But really, I find this record to be such a vibe. Something about the dark, messy, atmospheric vibe on this record is strangely calming to me. I just get lost in the intricate drum patterns, the gorgeous guitar tones, Tom's haunting vocals on it, and the abstract sounds present all throughout. It just feels slightly nature based, despite it being so electronic, and I find that really fascinating as well. I do think that this album has a noticeably weak start to it, which doesn't help it. It's a short album, but having Bloom being a decent opener, followed by Little and Morning Mr. Magpie, which are pretty all right, and then Feral, which to me is it's an experimental instrumental that gets a little too messy for its own good, in my opinion. It stumbles a little bit in the beginning, the record. I still like it, well, most of it, a lot, but it does stumble a little bit. But for the rest of the 4 tracks, I love the sounds and ideas presented on each of them. Separator is one of my favorites from them. The way in which that song grows is so gradual and engaging to me. Lotus Flower is a catchy banger, and Give Up the Ghost and Codex are both beautiful ballads that are just so layered and textured in like the best ways. I think this is a really special record, but I also get why others don't enjoy it as much, but I really do. um, and my favorites are Separator, Lotus Flower, Give Up the Ghost, Codex, and Little by Little. And my least favorites are Feral and Morning Mr. Magpie. And overall, I give it a decent 8 as well.
Look at that.
I'm glad you liked that one.
Yeah, me too.
And I guess just a little peek behind the curtain a little bit. I do think my song "Our Future" from Coping Mechanisms, shout out. I do think it is slightly inspired by Separator, just like the drum pattern and like the loopingness of it, and then just coming to a big climax. It definitely has a little bit of Separator influence in it. But cool. King of Limbs has 2 short EPs and a remix album. The first EP is called Super Collider / The Butcher. It has 2 songs. I bet you can't guess what their names are. Super Collider is a 7-minute synth track that reminds me of some of Tom York's solo stuff, but it's a little too long for its own good. And The Butcher, however, is fantastic and honestly would have fit really well on the album, and I'm kind of sad it wasn't on there. I give that whole thing a decent 8. And then the Daily Mail / Staircase from 2011. The Daily Mail has been one of my favorite B-sides for a long time now, and is such a fantastic track. But I also I kind of get why it's left off the album, because it doesn't really fit anything else on there. But Staircase is pretty cool too. And I didn't rate that one. I forgot to. And then there was a remix album called TKOL, The King of Limbs remix without any vowels. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. From 2011. It's a 1 hour and 45-minute remix album featuring multiple electronic recreations of the King of Limbs. I've always been morbidly curious about this one because I've seen it on like iTunes, and I just recently looked at it on Album of the Year too, and it has like kind of low reviews. So I decided to add it into this experience because I've always been a little curious about it. And I can now say I've officially experienced officially released Radiohead dubstep. Because this was released in 2011. I give the whole thing a decent 4. Yeah, that was an experience, all right.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. Okay. And finally, I think it's my turn, right? Yeah.
Yep.
All right, finally, last album in here's in the batch, A Moon-Shaped Pool from 2016. This was my first Radiohead album, and maybe it's true that you never forget your first love, because this album is extremely special to me to this day. While other Radiohead albums can be described as mostly rock or mostly electronic, this one blends the 2 worlds together seamlessly, and Johnny Greenwood provides just this lush orchestration in the background to back all of it up. I'm gonna keep it a buck. This is how I want my music to sound, is A Moon-Shaped Pool. To have that authenticity of real instrumentation, but naturally mixed with the endless possibilities of the electronic sound, they pull it off in such an impressive way on here, and it's something I have truly admired since like 2017, I think, is when I listened to this. And while King of Limbs had a little bit of a shaky start, the start of this album is honestly probably my favorite start to any of their albums. Opening up with the uneasy driving strings of Burn the Witch, which I love dearly, which then transitions into this haunting ambient piano ballad, Daydreaming, which I also love a lot. And then capping off a 3-run track run with the insane ear candy that is Dex Dark, which I also love. God, man, sometimes I'll listen to this thing just for that 3-track run at the beginning of it. But even though I've grown accustomed to it, this album is very bleak. That is one thing about it. Not only is it somber for pretty much everything, but the opening song on it, I think, is pretty sad. But the lyrics also touch upon Tom's divorce with his wife of 20 years, who would end up passing from cancer shortly after the release of this album. Which just, I think the context of that gives the entire album just this hauntingly beautiful atmosphere to it. And the true emotion for me is really felt on the closer, True Love Waits. Like I said before, they have been tinkering around with this song for like 20 years, and deciding that now is the time to release it with the context of everything behind it, it's just painful. Honestly, that song is a tough listen at times, and especially currently, the last lyrics on any Radiohead album are "just don't leave, don't leave." Yeah, it's an emotional listen, and I did an emotional listen of this during my own breakup, which was probably not a great idea. But this album does give me a great amount of comfort and solace in the bleakness of it. I don't think it's perfect, but it is my personal favorite record from the band, to be honest. My favorites on it are Daydreaming, Present Tense, Burn the Witch, Dex Dark, Full Stop, and Glass Eyes. And my least favorites are, my least favorite, I forgot this was just one song, Tinker Tailor, Soldier Sailor, Rich Man, Poor Man, Beggar Man, Thief. And overall, I give it a strong 9.
Cool. All right. Yep, A Moon-Shaped Pool. This album is gorgeous and devastating. The instrumentals and production feel more cinematic than ever before, and Tom's vocals and lyrics depict this story of heartbreak and sorrow so well all throughout. Radiohead definitely isn't a band to go to if you want upbeat or fast music. But that's not to say there aren't up-tempo moments here. But mostly, yeah, this is a very bleak, sad album.
Yeah.
But it is fantastic. I really love the instrumentals on Identikit, and the opener really brings us into the sound of the record in an exciting and sweeping way. I really like this album ever since I first listened to it. And it's listen only further solidified those feelings. I really hope this won't be their last record, but if it is, it's a hell of a closer.
Yeah.
My favorites are Burn the Witch, Identikit, Daydreaming, Tinker Tailor, Soldier Sailor, Rich Man, Poor Man, Beggar Man, Thief.
Good job.
Thank you. Glass Eyes, Full Stop, and True Love Awaits. And my least favorite was The Numbers, and I gave it a strong 9 as well.
Nice. I just realized I forgot to put True Love Waits in my top songs, but yes, that's in mine as well. Cool. All right. And then Moonshaped Pool did not have any EPs, but it did have 2 extra singles that came out alongside it. Spectre was released in 2015, according to Tom York, no relation to the James Bond movie. But in actuality, the band was asked to make a song for the James Bond movie called Spectre. And they absolutely cooked up a banger in the studio. This is one of their best B-sides and low-key one of their best songs. But the movie studio decided to choose Sam Smith instead. And I capped that off with saying the movie was kind of mid anyways. And then...
which one was that, Spectre?
Yeah, Spectre. There's actually, if anyone's interested, someone made a YouTube edit of like the opening credits of Spectre with, Radiohead Spectre over it. And dude, it looks so good. It looks and sounds so good. It's like, how the hell did you not do? I don't know. That's a whole discussion. But definitely check out that one. That's a good B-side. And then Ill Wind is currently the last song that they have released outside of like, extras from OK Computer and Kid A. But it was released in 2019. It's the only new song that I've actually been around to see come out, and that was in 2019. But yeah, it's pretty good. It's a little jazzier than most of a Moonshaped Pool, but it still has that super spacious and atmospheric feel like the rest of the record does. Some really nice synths and vocals on this one as well. But yeah, that's it for the B-sides.
Cool.
So, talk about your overall thoughts.
All right. Overall, this episode was a very, very long time coming. But man, am I glad that it finally stopped edging us. Radiohead is a very special band, with every member having incredible talent and bringing their A game for every release. I knew I would enjoy this artist analysis, as I have really liked to loved every album of theirs that I had checked out prior to this episode. But they still managed to really impress me. Every album past Pablo Honey is extremely high quality, and I don't think there was a moment that I truly disliked during the entire discography. I'll definitely be coming back to the albums to gain more than I already have from them. But for now, I absolutely love this discography. Yeah.
Oh yeah, cool. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. It's very happy to hear that. Yeah, for my overall, I said I've talked a lot this episode, so I'll try to keep this brief. Radiohead is arguably my favorite band. I don't love everything in their discography, but I can't think of another band who has nearly as many songs that I would consider to be perfect. They're experts at crafting an album, and they show so much respect and care for what they put out into the world. They truly want to make everything to the best of their ability, and the fact that they can push each other and experiment so much, and they have not had a single lineup change since they formed together in 1985.
Yeah.
It's just insane the amount of quality that they pulled off with one another. It shows how much respect that they have for one another too. And the music displays that synergy in spades as well. One thing I didn't touch on in this artist analysis is the amazing ways that they build texture between one another. You kind of were touching on it too in your thing, but on every Radiohead track, every member plays an important role. There's never like a basic drum part or a dull bass line or boring guitars or something like that. Everything just comes in when it needs to, and it's just uniquely appropriate to the overall picture of the music. It always has a really nice bass line or a really nice guitar line or really interesting drums. Like there's just so much attention to detail throughout their work. I don't know if they have much footage of their work ethic, but I would just love to be a fly on a wall in their sessions just to see like how they do that. It's probably a lot of yelling, but yeah, it's currently a little unclear if we'll get another Radiohead album. There was talks of things being organized in early 2020, but that's just another thing that COVID took from us. Tom and Johnny are both pretty busy and doing interesting work with The Smile, but maybe after this album cycle, maybe? I don't know. It's hard to tell. The lead guitarist, Ed O'Brien, has said that he does think there will be another Radiohead album. But, we'll see. I just want to be around for another Radiohead album, just be around for one to drop in general. And I would pay a lot of money to get to go to one show of theirs in my life. So, Tom York, if you're listening, you have me at an arm's length, my friend. Love you, kissy face. And that's the end of that's the end of my overall. My ranking of their albums is Kid A, OK Computer, A Moonshaped Pool, In Rainbows, The Bends, The King of Limbs, Hail to the Thief, Amnesiac, and then Pablo Honey. And overall, I give them a strong 9 as an artist.
Love that. All right, cool. My album ranking is OK Computer, In Rainbows, A Moonshaped Pool, The Bends, Kid A, The King of Limbs, Amnesiac, Hail to the Thief, and Pablo Honey.
Cool.
And overall, I give them a strong 8.
Cool. Nice. And then I also did, since I was talking about the B-sides a lot, I collected what I thought were their most notable B-sides, and I compiled them into a playlist that I will put into the description below if anyone's interested in that, or if you want to come back and listen to any of those at some points. I know you listened to a lot of Radiohead this week. But my notable B-sides in order were The Daily Mail, Spectre, Man of War, Talk Show Host, Worrywart, The Butcher, Last Flowers, How to Disappear into Strings, Lift, Harry Patch in Memory of, and Gagging Order.
Cool.
So that will be in the description if anyone wants to listen along to that. I kind of made it like a quote unquote hypothetical album. I try to like pace it well and stuff. So yeah, cool. Okay. All right. Well, unless you have anything to add, I think we can get into Song of the Week.
I got nothing.
Yeah. Well, you are up first this week, my friend.
Okay. I was struggling to come up with one that I really wanted to pick even earlier today, and I'm still kind of struggling. I think I will go with the opener from the Bends. I'm gonna go with Planet Telex by Radiohead.
All right.
All right, that was Planet Telex by Radiohead. What do you think, Mike?
I mean, yeah, it's a great song. Like I said, that one was growing on me even during this listen. Just with headphones, I mean, it's a great song regardless, but it's just mixed so well. Tom's vocals on there are so good. That like looping or that delayed piano effect is super sick as hell. The fact that this is the first track like officially back after Pablo Honey, it does make a statement. It's a great song.
Yeah, I love it as an opener. I think that, like you said, Tom's vocals are great on it, and I love that cool, like, repeated little guitar line,
Yeah.
the echoey kind of wah, 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 wah thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I think it sold me on the record at the beginning. So I also saw Hayley Williams posted stuff on her Instagram story this week of just like some of her favorite songs, I think, and like this one was on there, and she was like,
really?
yeah, she was like, this is one of my favorite album openers of all time.
Wow.
So, I really like it.
She should do a cover.
Cool.
She would kill that. Hell yeah. Cool.
What do you get?
Well, there's many Radiohead album or songs that I love from the albums that I will probably choose one day. But since I was focused on the B-sides for some of this, I do want to highlight a song that I did love a lot, but did not show up in the listening, and I think it's one that you should hear. It comes from the King of Limbs era, and the recording on Spotify, and I think the only recording there is of it comes from a live version that they did, like a live studio version. And the song is called The Daily Mail. All right, that was The Daily Mail by Radiohead. What did you think of that, Colin?
I liked it. I liked the I don't know, it felt like a song by, I don't know, somebody like Elton John a little bit, like just the way that Tom was singing and the piano and everything, like just like the banging on the keys. I don't know. I liked the energy of it. I thought it was interesting that it was in the King of Limbs era.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked it.
Cool. Yeah, it definitely is one that like it's a B-side from the King of Limbs, but I can absolutely see why it's not on the album because it doesn't sound like the rest of it at all. But I absolutely adore that track. I love the chords on it. I love Tom's voice in the first part of it. I mean, I love his voice throughout the whole thing, but in the first part in particular, just how he's singing there. And oh man, those horns! Oh my god, the moment when like the bass and like the horns really start like going off a little bit in that second half is like honestly one of my favorite moments in their entire discography. It does something to me. I don't know what it is. It's just really good. I love the energy on it. And yeah, that's a song that I think more people should hear from them. But yeah, cool, 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 cool. Well, this episode's pretty long already, so
Yeah.
I think we should wrap up. Thank you for putting up with my rambling, both Colin and the dear viewers. I did have a little bit to say this episode, but it's okay. Hopefully.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, thank you for allowing me to do that, and yeah, it's been a fun one. And Colin's got some good music now. Well,
Sure.
not that you did it before, but some more good music is how I meant to phrase that. But yeah, sick. If you're listening on streaming services, thank you very much. We appreciate you very much. You can come on over to YouTube. We're under the same name, BrokeN Bois, capital NBOIS, and you can see Anthony Fantano's beautiful face throughout this entire episode. And also the Clancy logo that is unique to this episode.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, can go check out that, see our beautiful green boxes around our profiles, speak as we do. But you also can see links to that Song of the Week segment that we just did. We do that every week, highlight a favorite song of ours from the week, and we've been doing that for 165 weeks. Minus like 3, I think. No, 4. Because 3 Brokies. Wait, yeah, 3 Brokies and then my episode I didn't do anything for. Anyways, there's 161 weeks worth of music in there. We got songs from myself, we got songs from Colin, and we got songs from all of us, both of us combined, along with all the guests that we have on the episode. And in those playlists, you can find Planet Telex and the Daily Mail, along with already quite a few Radiohead songs that are in there. So,
Yeah.
Go check out those playlists. They're pretty cool. Yeah, those are linked below. We also have personal links. For me, I have music. I alluded to it a little bit earlier. But I have an album out called Coping Mechanism on Spotify and Apple Music.
Yeah.
Go check it out. I do take some influence from Radiohead. I wouldn't put myself on the same quality as them, but you can hear the same ideas in there every now and then. Actually, I remember I was listening to we were playing Civ 5 one night with my friend Vanessa, and we were both listening to A Moon-Shaped Pool at the same time, and she's like, this just sounds like more plaintive music. like, yeah, a little bit. But yeah, but anyways, I have my own music that you should go check out. Catch up on your plane of lore. Some developments happening with that, some cool things. Stay tuned.
Let's go.
Still, but stay tuned. Yeah, I also have my album of the year down there where I've been posting a lot of reviews recently, more than usual. Go and check those out. Where I rate and review music, that's what's on there. And I have my Instagram down there. My YouTube channel, I posted a Laufey cover this week. The one that the long hyped Laufey cover finally got posted this week. So go check that out. Give it some love.
Let's go.
Yeah, I haven't tried working on backsliding yet, but maybe. I don't exactly know how well that one will translate, but it might. It might translate better than I think.
You've done it before, I believe in you.
I have. When there's rapping, it's a little harder, but yeah. Yeah, I think that's it for me. Approximately for you, I'm in those Kid A mountains. I'm on those jagged peaks, peeking over, kind of watching you from afar, in that red landscape on those snowy peaks. That is me. Mike on the mountains. And Colin over here, he runs our socials. He runs our Twitter page where he updates when episodes are posted. And he also runs our TikTok where he post little funny clips of us. Go give both of those some love. Give them some follows.
While the TikTok's still there.
That's so true. Check them out while you can. Only while supplies last. And
I'll start making reels soon, but that's all right.
Instagram reels, hell yeah. That's the best place to be. And he also has some personal stuff. He has an album of the year page where he rates and reviews music. Maybe some Radiohead stuff will go up on there, maybe. Yeah. And then he has a letterbox where he rates and reviews movies. I think you said you didn't watch anything, right?
I forgot I did watch a couple of things. Last Saturday I rewatched Evil Dead Rise, which was still very good, and me and Max watched a movie called The Pope's Exorcist, which was a Russell Crowe movie that came out I think last year, and it was fun. It was a little, it was fine. It was a fun time. I like Russell Crowe, so it's. If you like possession movies, you'll probably like it.
I haven't seen Russell Crowe in anything in a long time. I feel like.
I would recommend you watch The Nice Guys.
Oh, I did see him in that, but. Yeah.
Oh, you watched The Nice Guys?
Yeah, it was on Netflix a while ago. It's a good one.
It's fantastic. I love that movie.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you can go check those out on his Not Rate Your Music. I'm blanking. Movie Box page.
Letterbox.
What did I say? Movie Box?
Movie Box.
I don't know what that is. I don't know why I said that. That's nothing that I would know about. Letterbox. Go check that out. That is what is linked below. Nothing else. And then he has an Instagram page where he rates and reviews music. I've said a lot of words this episode. my quota is being reached. Yeah. Colin, what is your proximity to the viewer?
I'm in front of them, and I'm just wading around in a moon-shaped pool.
Wow.
Yeah.
Shirt on or off?
You'll have to wait till you come down from the mountains. So.
I'm peeking. I'm trying to see. I'm peeking from the peaks.
Well, I'm trying to make you edge.
You're piquing my interest from the peaks, okay?
Yeah, I better be.
Yeah.
I better be. Because I'm just wading around, drinking a pina colada, crying along to a moon-shaped pool.
Wow, what a vibe.
Yeah.
What's that vibe gonna incline you to do to the viewer? And I was trying to word that better, but
Well, our viewer, I'm gonna need a hug after listening to a moon-shaped pool. So I'm gonna get out of that pool shirtless, and I'm not gonna put a shirt on for this because I'm gonna need this hug real quick. Okay. And you, seeing that I am shirtless, you're gonna come running down from those peaks, and you're going to make it there as fast as you can to hug the dear viewer from behind as I hug them from in front, and though you see I am crying, nothing can really fight your attraction from my shirtless body, and you're just gonna wipe the tears from my lips, and then smooch them real hard, while we embrace the viewer from in front and behind, and we give them a nice love cage. You're going to viciously make out with my shirtless body, which will cheer me up a bit, of course, along with the hug. But yeah, if that love cage sounds appealing to you, which I know it does, you can get your very own by dropping your address in the comments below. We will find you. You won't know when, you won't know where, but you will receive your very own love cage, and you will love it.
Damn right. And in that one, you get 2 states of water on you. You get water from the pool and snow from the mountaintops.
Yeah.
From in front and behind. So that sounds great to me.
You'll be soaked either way. So.
Yeah. Yeah, sick. Well, it's a long one. Thanks for sticking around if you made it this far. Hell yeah.
We'll be back with a bracket of some sort next week.
Yep, bracket of some sort. We will be ranking religions.
And somehow Kanye's gonna make his return. But hey.
Not correlated.
No.
Okay. All right. See you next week.
Bye-bye.